Good morning, world. Thank you all for tuning in with us. This is your girl, Lareina Smallwood. Most of you know me as Raina. I wanted to take the time this morning to introduce you all to a really good friend of mine, a true Renaissance man in my eyes. Gosh, the list. Let's see where we start with all the things that, that he's done and accomplished in his life. You are the CEO of Q Merch, Natural Shea Beauty Products,
Right.
the chairman of QDN, your own digital network. You are the soon to be host of your own show on your network called Woke at Midnight.
Right.
Did you catch that title, Woke at Midnight? I
Right.
think that's dope.
Right.
Let's see, we got to keep going here. You're also an author of Behind These Green Eyes, which we're going to delve into a little bit today, as well as Just Because It Feels Good, and soon to be released, Poverty Gene.
There you go.
Yeah, see?
There you
Yeah.
go. Right.
And then, not to mention, not to forget, excuse me, music mogul, who was one of the top producers that put Detroit on the map for hip hop.
Right.
Did I cover it all? Or am I missing something?
Yeah, you did great.
That's good. All right. Good. Good.
Yeah.
Well, and my friend. So I'm glad
Definitely
to
that. Definitely that. Yeah.
I'm glad to have you here with me today. And you have so many positive things going on. I think you're getting ready to just change media, period, as well as, with your beauty products. And so I just wanted to take this opportunity to introduce you to everyone, get your name out there, get your products out there, let people know where you come from, what you've been through, where you're headed.
Right.
So how's that sound?
That sounds really,
That's
really good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So many hats. So let's start in the beginning. Born and raised in Detroit.
Yeah.
All right. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I was born in Detroit. My mother, she died when I was 11 months old. She was actually 16 years old when she had my brother. We were 11 months apart. She had me when she was 17, died when she was 18, and was buried on her 19th birthday. So, yeah. So me and my brother lived with my godmother for a couple years when we were young. And then we ended up moving with my father when I think I was 5 or 6 years old. We moved with my father, and my aunt raised us because my father was always gone, So she was 70-something years old, Aunt Pearl. Yeah, everybody, the whole neighborhood called her Aunt Pearl.
I was going to say everybody's got a Pearl in the family. My
Right,
grandmother's name was
right.
Letty Pearl. So
right, yeah.
okay.
So yeah, so she raised us, and I grew up on the west side of Detroit, between 7 Mile and 8 Mile area, west side.
So that's the real thing. It's just not
Right,
not
right.
Eminem
The
making
8 Mile, right. I actually we're a couple blocks off of 8 Mile, so we're from the 8 Mile area.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so for those that are not, that don't know, because I did need to figure this out myself, what exactly is 8 Mile, 7 Mile? What does that mean?
So in Detroit, you have your miles, this 8 Mile, 7 Mile, 6 Mile. But when you go across 8 Mile, you leave out of Detroit. It's like the border. So you
Okay.
go over 8 Mile. It's like a different city depending on what part of 8 Mile. You might be in Southfield, Oak Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so are they literally like that measurement a mile apart, or that's just the name?
No, they're a mile apart.
They're a mile
Yeah,
apart.
it's
Okay,
not like
okay.
I live in Atlanta now, so it's not like Atlanta where the streets might curve. Everything is straight up and down. So you got 6, 8, 7, 6, Finkel, which is 5 miles, like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So your dad, you said that he was gone a lot. Work, like what made him?
Well, my father was a hustler. He was in the streets. He sold pills. So, so he was always in the streets. I don't know what he was doing all that time, but he was in the streets.
Yeah, bro, I was gonna
he
make
would
sure
come,
you didn't know.
yeah, he would come home. He would be there sometimes. Sometimes he was gone. I remember one time he had been gone for a year, and me and Pearl and my brother, we came home. I think we went to the grocery store or whatever. His car was there. We were like, "Oh, Joe is there." Mm-hmm. So we run into the house, and we knock on the door. And Joe, he called me Baby Joe. So I come in, he's like, "Hey, Baby Joe, how you doing?" And he had some company in the room or whatever. He was like, "Y'all all right? Close my door." I was like, so, I hadn't seen him in a year.
That was
yeah.
the welcome that you got.
That was the welcome that I got.
Okay, like I see, he had things to do. He had other,
that was the welcome.
other things on his mind at that time. Okay,
right. So that was kind of my, living in on the west side of Detroit. It was, our neighborhood when we first moved over there was like the suburbs. Mm-hmm. So it was real nice. Within about 3 years, it had kind of turned like hood.
Okay.
So, once, how it is, when one black family move in, two black families move in, then it back then it would change fast.
Unfortunately, it would change
right.
value of the area.
Yeah.
Yes.
So at that point, we started getting drug gangs and stuff like that, in the area. Okay. And, my father, he was selling pills. So he would have, we would be in this black neighborhood, and white people would be coming up buying pills from him. They'd be in the house, so it was like real embarrassing.
You had the obvious traffic.
Right.
They knew what was going on at Joe's house.
Yeah. So, but we had, we had the shiny things. I remember back then we had the new Sevilles. Sevilles was the cars to have back then. He had the TV and the phone, in the car back then. And this was in the early 80s. So, we had those, those type of things. So he was getting money.
So you kind of grew up with, would you say that you grew up with a little bit of status, like notoriety? People knew who you were?
Yeah, people,
because of your father?
They knew I was because of my father.
What role did that play for you, like in school and stuff? Did it cause problems? Did it make it a little bit easier?
No,
it
made it easier because I remember one time our bikes got stolen, and all the kids was like, they used to come over our house to play basketball because we had the swimming pool, we had the arcade games in the basement, and
you had the house.
Oh yeah, we had the house, and so he got everybody out there, and he said, "Y'all got, I think, an hour, and y'all better have his bike back." And you saw people scrambling everywhere, and next thing you know, they came back with the bike.
Oh, magically appear.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, my father was a terror. He was definitely a terror. So,
he wasn't the one to mess with.
No, because I remember one time in Seville, we used to take us skating, and then Seville got stolen, and we were his Seville got stolen, and 3 hours later he had it back. Yeah, so it was that type of thing right there.
So whoever was bold enough to take it clearly didn't know anything about Joe Sr.
Right. and everything was great and everything was good. Like I say, my aunt raised us, but until crack came out. Mm-hmm. So when crack came out, my father started getting high. So we come home from school one day, and everything that was in the house was gone. There was one table left, a glass table, and you saw the residue from cocaine on there, and that was all that was left. So
he wiped out everything.
Wiped out everything.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I could see that being a situation where it would cause the relationship to turn a little bit. Or
but
were you too young to really understand?
No, I understood. It was what it was. Because my father, I knew what was going on. Like when I was young, I wasn't old enough to drive. Mm-hmm. My father would, give us pills. And was like, "Look, I need you to go drive this over here." In the Seville, now the Seville is hot. So he would have us go drive it and drop it off. I was like, "Joe, I ain't about to go over there. I ain't got no license. I ain't got nothing." And
he didn't care about that.
He was like, "Boy, shut up. Go there and then go get me a bagel at the bagel shop and stop at Kentucky Fried Chicken and bring me back a Coke. I was like, yeah, okay.
He was running all the
Yeah,
errands.
we were,
The errand
we was
boy.
running. Yeah, we was running errands, and so that's just what it was.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of kids, get caught up, in a certain life, depending on where they from and what your parents, push you into.
Yeah.
But I never thought that it was just like, oh my God, look what's happening to me.
Yeah.
It was back then. I just embraced it.
That's just what it was.
It was like, yeah, it was just what it was.
But it also seems, though, that you had great influence in your life because your grandmother was an entrepreneur and also the editor of a newspaper?
Yeah, Pittsburgh Courier. Yeah, I had two great grandmothers. I'll start with the other grandmother first. My father's mother, Agnes Bryant, she was the head of the Human Rights Department for Detroit, for the city of Detroit, and then also the water board. She was the head of that for a long time. And then his father was a dentist. So he came from a successful background. Now, my other grandmother, she owned the Advertising Specialties Company. She was the first editor for the Pittsburgh Courier. And she was, I had two great grandmothers. So, and I used to go over my grandmother, we called her Mommy. We used to go over her house every weekend. So they had a big influence on my life. And I started working with her in the advertising business when I was young. So I understood that. And that was kind of my first dip into entrepreneurship with that. So I was actually, my father had me hustling on this end, but I was also working with my grandmother. So I understood both ways.
And you were doing all of this while you were in school? Or did you drop out of school, or were you sports, anything like that?
So how that happened in high school, that's when my father had us, doing all the runs and stuff. And I think my senior year, my father went to jail. So when my father went to jail, that's when me and my friends start taking over his customers. So we start, doing a little hustling, selling to his customers while he was in jail. I had his car. he had a Maxima then. Maxima was like the cars everybody wanted back then. He had a Maxima. So my senior year, I was driving this Maxima to school, and he was in jail. He went to jail for a little bit of time. I think maybe 6, 7 months. I forgot what ended up happening, why he went. But yeah, so I had his car, and then I was hustling my senior year, but I also was playing football. So yeah, that was when I was a senior in high school.
Okay. So then after graduation?
So after graduation, I went to school, to college, in Ferris State University. Stayed there for a half a semester, and I got into a little trouble up there, and then I came back.
Okay.
So once I came back, my father took me to some of his spots that I guess he used to get high with, and that's when I ended up getting my own spots. So that's when everything kind of started from there.
So at that point, just briefly, you kind of would say that you followed in your father's footsteps.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing a lot of different things. I started a car broker. I was getting everybody cars. I cut a deal with a lot of the sales managers at the dealerships. So I had everybody driving Vets, which was the nicest cars around at the time. Everybody
you just used to nice cars, right?
Yeah. So I was doing that. I was hustling. So I was, just making money, from legitimate business and from not so legitimate business.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on from there, and there's so much in the middle, guys, but you got to read the book. We can't disclose it all now, but definitely a page turner.
Right.
I want to jump forward a little bit. Tell us about Robert.
Oh, so I had a classmate. We grew up all in the same neighborhood. Who asked me to invest in him. He was a rapper. So I said, I was intrigued by it. So he took me to the studio one day, and I went in the studio, and I was just like, oh, this is what I want to do.
This was your first time in the studio.
This is my first time in the studio. But
Did he know that when he asked you to invest in him?
yeah, he just needed
He
somebody
needed
to
the
put him out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he just needed somebody to put him out. So I started a record label, but I had already started promoting concerts. A friend of mine, one of my best friends, Daryl, his uncle, Duran, had he was cool with a lot of the booking agencies in New York. So he was like, look, man, you want to make some money, promoting concerts. He said, you might want to look at it. I was like, okay, cool. So we flew to New York, and that was the first time I had ever been on a plane. And I was scared of planes back then. So we flew to New York. I met with, I think, the Norby Water Agency. And I booked Eric B. and Rakim. And that was my first concert.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah,
You didn't even start with the locals, no underground. You just went straight to the...
I did Eric B. and Rakim. I had signed Eddie D. I can't remember at the time if that first concert that I did that I have some of my groups on it. I can't remember. I know the second one we did, but the Eric B. and Rakim, I started off with that. I did Too Short, and then we moved on and did MC Hammer. We did a tour with MC Hammer, Public Enemy. Well, not a tour, a show with MC Hammer, Public Enemy, Today, 357, KRS-One. And I did that at Kentucky State. And I was bringing concerts from to the college, to Kentucky State back then. And that's when we started getting deep into, we were recording music at the time. So with Eddie D, they would start playing this record on the radio, so things just kind of took off right then. I was doing concerts, and we had started the record label.
Okay. So I guess that kind of works for you, having your own record label, but then also already having experience promoting concerts. So when it comes to multitasking in your own business and working with your artists, you didn't have to outsource because you kind of already knew what you were doing.
Yeah, somewhat. I was learning on the fly, but then I had Duran was teaching me that game as far as the concert game. And then I ended up getting a mentor. His name was Aubrey Taylor. He was in California, and he was helping promote the Hammer, MC Hammer, and those artists on the West Coast. And he kind of took me under his wing. But I was paying him a lot of money, so it was expensive to learn, because he would be calling me every week, look, I need you to send me this, I need you to send me that. And so it was draining, but once I got in it, it was like, you're on a whole nother level now. You got employees, so that kind of taught me how to invest in the business. And I had to keep investing because the people that I was counting on, they knew the business and I really didn't. But I'm a fast learner though.
I just a question, because it seems like at this point in time, would you roughly, how old were you?
I was 19 and 20.
Right. So I asked that because given the list of things that you've done thus far, and we're skipping over quite a bit, one would think that you were older than you were, which I find it amazing that you were at such a youthful age at this time, learning so many traits and talents and growing at an exponential speed. Because some people would think that to get to that level of success, or that it takes years and so much time. It does take work. And knowing you, I know you have a very strong work ethic. But just, letting people know that when you have a dream or you set your mind to something, age is never really a factor, whether you're young or old.
Right. So you're absolutely right. Because by the time, and we'll get into the next thing with the Detroit Most Wanted and the Smiley and stuff like that. But Yeah, I was 19 at that point, 19 and 20. And by the time we had a top 100 record, I was probably 21 years old.
And that,
Yeah.
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 And so that top 100 was Smiley?
Was Smiley.
Let's talk
So,
about Smiley.
right. So Eddie D introduced me to Smiley. And Smiley was a female rapper. And we did a single on her called Freak Out. And they started playing it on the radio, WJLB, on the weekend. It got hot. And then it's always something that changes the fate of music or different industries. So they came out with something called Video Jukebox.
Okay.
So before then, you would get your music played on MTV or BET. And so we signed. So when we signed Smiley and we had the single "Freak Out," we started recording her album. And then we did a new single called "Smiley But Not Friendly," and we shot a video to it. So at the same time we shot the video, the Jukebox Network was starting to get hot. Okay. And they started playing the record and went #1 instantly. It was #1 not only in the Detroit market, but it would be #1. We would get the readouts. It was #1 in a lot of markets. Nice. So it just blew up. We were selling tons of singles at the point before the album even came out, and it just took off from there. You know.
So how did you meet Smiley? How did you come to sign her on your
Eddie D. And I did an interview with Smiley maybe about 10 years ago, and she said, "You gave me some money." I didn't remember that part. And she was like, so I gave her advance, and it was something small back then. It wasn't a lot, but, you know, and we really treated Smiley like she was an R&B group or whatever, because we had her custom clothes, everything. Like she had it all, and Smiley was, you know, before her time. You know, she was hardcore, but she also had, you know, she had that crossover appeal.
Yeah.
So the single "Smiley But Not Friendly" was a sample of Evelyn Champagne King, and you know, it just instantly took off. So.
And she did an interview with Rap City.
Yeah.
That's showing our age right there, if you remember what
Rap
City was.
Yeah, and Yo MTV Raps.
Yeah.
She was on both. So, and we were an independent label. So it wasn't too many independents able to get that type of play back then. You know, think about it. You know, Yo MTV Raps and BET. So, but I had a good staff that I was working with, and we were really making moves. So from there, we met Detroit Most Wanted, and Detroit Most Wanted started getting hot too. So their single "City of Boom," we put that on the jukebox, and it just took off too. So we had 2 hit singles at the time that was really doing well.
Oh, so Smiley and Detroit's Most Wanted at the same time.
Yeah, well, Detroit Most Wanted was about a year after Smiley, but we were kind of promoting them, getting them on the video shows. And Smiley album at the time, when it came out, it went number 56 in the country on Billboard the first week.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the national chart. So we were so excited back then. It was like,
that's something to be excited about.
Yeah, we were so excited. Just even hearing your record being played on the radio, you know, was just I can't even explain the feeling, you know.
Nice. So back in 1990, you went to the Jack the Ripper Jack the Rapper convention in Atlanta.
Right.
What was that? How did that help with your business? What you were doing in Detroit by coming here to Atlanta?
It just made me want to move to Atlanta and never come back. I mean, because I felt like we arrived. You know, I went to the convention. All the stars was there. You know, I got in good with a lot of the different executives, and it was just like, whoa, this is what I want. So I knew immediately that was a life changer. I said, this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life. Okay. You know, and then too, I wasn't saying I was making a big profit off the records, but we was getting steady checks now from distributors. So I was like, okay, I'm ready to move. So I got home, and I was married at the time, and I was like, you know what? We moving. Let's go. She was like, what you mean? I said, we moving. As soon as I got back, and that's when we started planning to move.
So, just if you had to compare the two, what made Atlanta so much better than Detroit? Just a better market,
Well,
or
what was going on in Detroit? It was just it was just so much robbing and killing and and stuff like that going on at the time. And I just wanted to concentrate. I don't know if I can say it was better, but it was like I wanted to just have a different life. So I didn't want to be around the same crowd that I was around in Detroit. I wanted to concentrate on the music
so you
business.
could grow?
Yeah, so we can grow.
I know this. Just wanted to touch on this briefly, though. You did invite your brother to come to Atlanta with
Yeah,
you.
so yeah, we were going to well, actually I invited my brother to come to the convention in New Orleans,
No, okay.
and it was a music convention. So I never forget it. I saw him. He was in front of one of my friends' house, and I was driving, and I was like, "Look, me and my little brother, we were on our way to New Orleans to this music convention." I was like, Warren, come on and go with us, and I think we're gonna have a good time. Come on, let's go down here and kick it. And he was just like, Nah, man, I need to take care of some business while I'm down here. And I'm like, you sure? And he was like, yeah, I'm sure. So we ended up going to the convention, and I was playing poker with a lot of the executives. I was with Levert, the group Levert. We was all playing poker. We used to, at the different conventions, we used to get together and play poker. And I just had a funny feeling that just came through me. And my brother walked in the room with a robe, or I envisioned that. I knew something was wrong. I ran back to the hotel room, and my little brother was on the bed just crying. And I knew what had happened. My brother had got killed. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. But I guess that ties back into the violence and the negativity going on in Detroit that you wanted to get away from. And then, too, as you married with children at the time, wanted to take your family away from that as well.
Right. So during that time, I had just got robbed. I had got kidnapped a couple months prior to that, and then
In Detroit?
Yeah, in Detroit. Yeah, I got kidnapped. I was coming out of I was sick, and I was in the hospital. So I was eager to get back to work. We had a lot of stuff going on, and keep in mind we had 2 hot videos going at the time, and so I had surgery, and I went back the day that I got out of surgery. My brother, I think, picked me up from the hospital, and we went up to I said, take me straight to the office. So my grandmother was up there, and my brother was up there, and I told them to go ahead, and they left. And in Detroit, you got these alleys, where you go out in the back, it's an alley. It's just not another street, it's an alley. So my car was parked back there. And I came out, and a car pulled up, and they said they was the police. So that kind of made me freeze for a minute. Yeah. They had on masks, jumped out, and then threw me in the trunk and took me to a dark garage or wherever, So that's...
I don't mean to laugh, because I know it was not funny at the time at all, but when you saying that, and I picture it and describe it in my mind, you think of something from a movie.
Right.
Like, this does not really happen.
Right.
And then if it does, people definitely don't make it out of those types of situations alive.
That's
so
the big
how
thing.
did that?
I I mean, my life flashed in front of me, but it was just God. You know, it wasn't my time. So they let, they ended up, they took me back to my house, robbed me, of course, and the kids were there, and they let me live. So
And to this day, though, you don't know who those people were.
nope, I sure don't. But see, we had a lot going on because there was just so many people that was jealous. You know, you got the videos going on, so people they said they had been following me for. They said you the hardest person to get. They had been following me for 6 months. Wasn't able to get me because I was always watching out. But I slipped that one time because I was in the hospital. Yeah. So it was. So they said it. They, when they was like, look. We've been following your ass. We finally got you. I was like, okay.
I know this is jumping forward quite a bit, but something similar actually happened to a friend of yours as well.
Yeah. So right during this time, it was at the same time. My friend actually he had a record label too, and it was crazy because he had just called me down to. I had just got now. This happened right after I got robbed because he had called me. He was like, he had just opened a new record label. His record was doing good too, and he called me down. We went down, met at his boat. And he was like, "Man, you really think we're gonna make some money in this record?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Stick with it. Believe me." I said, "This about to change the game." And he was like, "Okay, cool." So two of my staff had went and started working for him. And so, they were setting him up where, he would can concentrate on the music business.
Yeah.
And then a week later, my man who used to work for me, he called me and said, "You heard what happened?" I said, "No." He said, "They found him dead. You know, they axed him in the back of the head, killed his girlfriend, all that type of crazy stuff." Yeah.
And this was prior to you making the transition to Atlanta.
We was on our, remember we were on our way down to Atlanta, but we were still looking for a house in
Still
Atlanta.
looking, yeah.
So all this happened
You
around the
weren't
same time.
relocated completely
Yeah.
yet. Yeah.
Yeah. So all that happened. Me getting robbed, my brother getting killed, and then my boy getting killed. All happened like a 3-month time span.
Did that? That's a lot. And that's a lot of heavy, where most people would have some type of breakdown or shutdown or something. Did that affect business in any type of way for you?
Well, when I got to Atlanta, it was I wasn't going nowhere without a gun because I was just just always like on my P's and Q's about that. It was hard to deal with. Even to this day, I never got over my brother's death. You know what I'm saying? But it's you just live with it. It's the life that we living in. So and even with the situation with my situation, I don't know who did it to the day. I don't even know why. I know I wasn't mistreating anybody, whatever. But there's always going to be people out there that operate from hate. So you just got to be on your P's and Q's, no matter what it is that you're doing. But so yeah, it was. I don't think it affected me like real bad. It was just I had to be strong. When your mother died at 11 months, and you're going through what I went through with my father, and not saying that I went through anything bad, but just seeing life from that perspective, understanding, what life really is, you just have to take it.
But I think you got two great point of views, not only from, what your father showed you on one end, but on the whole another spectrum. You had your aunt and your grandmother, entrepreneurs running businesses, doing things, making moves at that point. So you kind of, I don't know where they say some people are a product of their environment, but it's because that's all they know, that's all they've seen.
Right.
but you were able to see both sides of a coin.
Right.
And then fortunately you chose the side that,
Right.
you know, would help you in life and in business making moves in the future. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. That was.
yeah.
Yeah. And then when I got to Atlanta, it was like it was another world, and because now we're in the music business and we're doing good in the music business. So now everything's opened up, and Atlanta was the hottest city in the country at the time. So we out there promoting, we with other artists, we living life,
Yeah.
so when you stay busy, a lot of times you don't have time to think on how bad things have been or whatever.
Yeah.
So we got these hit records, and we're starting to, do well in the music business. I'm down, have a new house down in Atlanta. So, life was still, moving on for me,
Yeah.
and just, I mean, you talking about the early 90s in Atlanta, it was exciting time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was just exciting time. So.
To piggyback really fast. When you were in Detroit, didn't you have your own? Did you had your own record stores?
Yeah, I had a record store in Atlanta, um, on 8 Mile, on 8 Mile,
In
right?
Detroit, on
Yeah,
8 Mile.
on 8 Mile in Detroit. I had
Okay.
my own record store. I had, I told you about the advertising specialty company, but yeah, we had our own record store, and our offices was in the back.
Okay.
So it was a nice little setup, and that's where I ended up getting robbed at. When I was coming out the back of that, we had the offices in the back, and then we had the retail store in the front.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, well, that works out nice. You have your own record store, so you guys selling your own artists'
Right, right.
music
Yeah.
out of there.
Yeah. So we were the only company to have the full-fledged distribution line from beginning to end. We were distributors, manufacturers, one-stops, and wholesalers, and had our own stores. And once I got to Atlanta and got my feet grounded there, we started opening up stores everywhere. So we were able to kind of control what was going on in the music business, as far as retail wise and wholesale wise.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's nice. I want to talk about Splat Pack.
Okay.
That's one of that was another one of your groups from Detroit that went
Yeah. Right. They was from West Palm Beach.
West Palm
Yeah.
Beach.
So Splat Pack, we met.
Wait, Florida. So
West Palm Beach, Florida.
how'd you get to Florida then?
Huh? So no, they were from Florida. They were located in Atlanta. So I actually, I was selling to a lot of the stores down there, and
Okay.
I met a guy who was a part of this Black Pack in the store, and he was like, "Check us out. We got a hit single out." So they had a hit single that was already playing in most of the strip clubs. It was hot across the country. It's called "Shake That Ass."
Okay.
And it's still a classic to the day. But it was popping. I was like, "Who was these guys? Let me go check them out." You know what I'm saying? Because it was Miami-based music, and I really wasn't into that. I was in
different,
some
yeah.
hardcore Detroit stuff, but my mind wasn't totally like how it was supposed to be for music, because I was just thinking of Detroit music and that type of stuff. It wasn't open to just all different types of music.
Yeah.
So Splat Pack, when we had the meeting or whatever, the producer, who was Kid Money, I met with them, and I was like, so I started listening to them. I was like, they kind of hot, So he came and he produced a couple of the songs off the Detroit Most Wanted album. Then we introduced Splat Pack on that. So by that time, Shake That Ass was really hot.
Okay.
And so what we did was we signed them to an album deal, even though they had signed a deal with Pandis Records in Miami, which is one of the top bass labels in the country.
For that
But
music.
yeah, but they just had to shake that ass with Pandis. But we signed them for the album.
Oh.
So right. So what ended up happening was we did a joint venture with them. We signed with them because at the time we was distributed. I had my own distribution, but I was selling to independent distributors. So for people who don't know, a long time ago, when you had your own label, you still selling to independent regional distributors, just like in any other business. You had distributors that you would sell your record to. I never had any type of person that we did a deal with. Okay. So I had like a couple $100,000 that they owed me, and they went out of business with all my money. So that forced me to do a deal with Ishabine Records. Mm-hmm. Ishabine Records was really like a mini major. They had MC Breed, and they had a lot of like the blues. They were real big in blues, so we did a distribution deal, which was an 80-20 deal. So when people start saying they did the 80-20 deal first, they didn't. We did. Because he was basically giving 70-30 deals to companies who did all their own stuff. I said, nah, I can't give you 30%. So we had an 80-20 deal with them, and that was like in 1992. Okay. Yeah, because Detroit Most Wanted, we had just dropped a new video with them. It was super hot, and I was developing, doing the album on Splat Pack at the time. So when that happened, they were distributing me, so I wasn't controlling the money at that point. You know, we were recording a lot of albums. At this point, I probably had about 10 or 15 groups that we were recording and putting out and stuff like that. And we put a lot of albums out through Ishabine, maybe about 30 albums that we put out through Ishabine. But Splat Pack was getting hot at the time. But Ishabine wasn't paying like they were supposed to pay, so I started getting, then they was getting in financial difficulty. Okay. So at this point, with the Splat Pack, since Pandis already had the single Shake That Ass, I cut a deal with them. And the reason why I cut a deal with them is because the Kid Money, who was the producer, he had stole the master to the album because he was just acting crazy. And he wasn't controllable, even though that he wasn't actually signed to Splat Pack. He was the producer and one of the rappers on it. So it was a headache. So I was like, okay, Pandis, let's do a deal. So I did a deal with Pandis and with the Splat Pack record. So at this point, Splat Pack Scrub the Ground wasn't even a single, and it just started taking off. A DJ in Detroit started playing the whole album, and the Scrub the Ground just
remember that one.
Yeah, yeah. Scrub the Ground just blew up, and that's how Splat Pack came to be. You know, so that song actually blew up. Now they had Let Me See You Work It and Shake That Ass. It was both pretty hot. Mm-hmm. It was, I think they was both on the singles chart too, but the Scrub the Ground was the big one, and that, you know. Mm-hmm.
So it was Splat Pack, the only group that you had that did that type of Miami?
No, at that point I started signing all type of groups. We had so many groups. 1993 was a great year for us. We had Splat Pack. We had a new Detroit Most Wanted album that was doing good. We had a group called AWOL that we was distributing. We had like a little joint venture with them out of Detroit. They was really hot. Mm-hmm. We had Convicted Felons out of Cincinnati. That was doing well. We just, on the humbug, we ended up signing them because somebody didn't show up to the studio. And my brother's baby's mother called us and said, look, I got a group, they down in Atlanta right now, go listen to them. And I listened to them, I loved them. I was like, oh, we put them, I said, y'all want to go in the studio this week? Let's sign. And we put them in that studio that same week and came out with their album, and it started doing good. So we had that, we had K-Stone, we had a whole lot of groups in 93 that, you know, that was like our year.
Nice.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's good. Well, this is where we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
And we'll be right back with you to talk some more.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, we would like to thank you all for tuning back in with us. We are back with Joel. Yes. So I just wanted to say we are well aware that you are hardworking, knocked it out about your business. But when we work hard, we play hard.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So, what did playing look like back with Joel, especially being in the music industry, the clubs, the parties, the traveling? Like, what was that?
You want to know about relationships, huh?
Yeah, well, that part too, because that's part of it.
Yeah. So far as we stayed in the strip clubs all the time. So I was cool with a lot of the strippers because our song, especially when we had the Splack Pack stuff, like, the different songs that they had the strip club vibe to. So it was amazing. Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. I just had a good time, with just being able to meet, some of the most beautiful women in the world in Atlanta. We gave parties, we shot videos. It's like everything that you can imagine being in the industry. I was like living that.
So, would you consider yourself a ladies' man? Breaking hearts.
I mean, I'm not gonna say all of that, but I consider myself as just partaking in the Atlanta scene. I'll put it like that.
Okay.
So, far as like, our life consisted of, promoting and marketing, and I also had retail stores. So, on one side, you got the music store. You got the most beautiful women in the world, all these Atlanta women, people that came from everywhere, New York, Detroit. And then you had the strip clubs. And that was a new thing, as far as coming from Detroit, where you just, you got strip clubs everywhere in Atlanta at the time.
Yeah.
So everybody was coming there. So, I would say, let me see how I can put this.
Don't be modest.
I had relationships. Once I got divorced, because I was me and my wife like separated somewhere in the early '90s or whatever, So I had different girlfriends, and I had a lot of great, amazing women in my life. Now a lot of it didn't work out for marriage because depending on what I was doing at the time or what the person was doing, or just things that came up where we couldn't make it, But I feel like, I had my share of drama. Now, I ain't gonna lie, but and everybody does. But I think overall, I had a lot of real good women. So I will tell you about this situation because it's in the book. So when I first moved to Cleveland, when I first moved to Atlanta. I started talking to a young lady in Cleveland, Ohio. Me and my wife had got separated. That's another thing. She left me after, I think, 3 months in Atlanta. Me and my boy was down in Magic City, and we came home late. Woke up that next morning and had a gun to my head, like, you've been sleeping with that B.I. from Detroit. And I was like, what are you talking? I didn't even know what she was talking about. But she had called me on my phone, this ex that I used to talk to or whatever, and then she ended up leaving. So I met a young lady who was handling our marketing from the radio station down in Cleveland. So she was helping us with everything, and then we ended up talking. And she was a beautiful woman, smart woman, and we started dating. So I was going back and forth from Cleveland to Atlanta for a while. So what ended up happening was I was gambling a whole lot. I was gambling back then. So, well, not at that point. Before I came, I was a gambler. Okay, so I went down. It was It was during Christmas time. I think it was 1990. It was in the early 90s. Let's just put it like that. So I went down to spend the holiday with her. So Cleveland is like a couple hours from Detroit. I go to Detroit to see my kids because my ex had took the kids back to Detroit at this time. And I went back and we started gambling. I usually win when I'm gambling. So I was down like a whole bunch of money. And next thing I know, I'm at the gambling table for like 2 weeks. Christmas had went past. It was past Christmas. I was there like at least 8 days. We was gambling every day. Right. So that's the type of gambling. I mean, when I was in Detroit, we used to gamble all day. And to this day, I wonder like, why we used to gamble so much? What was wrong? We making money. So I went down. She was calling me on the phone. I'm like, I'll be there tomorrow, baby. I'll be there tomorrow, baby. So then Christmas ended up passing, but I was down so much money. And I was used to winning. Like before I left, I was winning like $5,000 a day, gambling all the time. And so I was down a lot, and I didn't want to leave. So when I got I didn't like the way my kids was living at that point. So what I did was I was like, look. So my ex was like, look, I'll go back, and I want to get an apartment down there. I was like, okay, cool. So at this time, Christmas had already passed. And I had lost all this money, so I was just like, man, I'll take my ass back to Atlanta. I take them back. And as soon as we walked through the house, my girl called and she picked up the phone. And then she was just so hurt. She was like, you went back and got your wife and you didn't say anything to me, da 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 da. And I was like, no, it wasn't like that. It was a long story behind it or whatever. And she was just so hurt. So I messed that relationship up. And we tried to repair it. But it was just kind of too much. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, but she had always told me, she was like, the life that you live in is going to end up catching up with you because you always got niggas around you. You're always doing this and that, da 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 da. But but she was a beautiful person. That's kind of, so that was one relationship I know that I messed up. She was a successful person too. So it was, that's the kind of story.
I just want to dig a little bit.
Okay, dig a little bit.
So that was successful relationship. So what about the relationship, we're going to leave names out here.
All right.
Where the young lady sent your wife a letter and sent.
Oh, that was the same situation. So that was actually the same situation. So this would also led to our breakup. So I was dating her in Cleveland, but my ex from Detroit, not my ex-wife, but another girl that I was talking to in Detroit, she was sending both of them letters saying that she was with me and y'all both better. No, she was sending my wife letters saying that she was my girl in Cleveland. She was sending my girl in Cleveland letters saying that she was my wife and to leave me alone. So.
But you weren't breaking hearts.
No. Don't blame the victim. When crazy people do crazy stuff, hey, I'm not gonna take any blame. Well, I'll take a little blame for it, but I'm just saying, like, that was, sometimes you don't know people.
You don't. I was reading that, I was like, oh my gosh, this almost sounds like some Fatal Attraction type.
It was.
I'm glad she was not in the same city with everybody else.
Well, she ended up doing some
knocking on the phone, knocking on the door.
She ended up doing some crazy stuff after that. Fire shooting her next boyfriend or something, but she was just crazy. I didn't know that. Me and her was real close. It was I thought she was the one for a minute, but I didn't know she had all that.
You revisited that. Huh? I'm glad you revisited that.
Yeah, and it was, it was crazy because my girl was like, your ex-wife is sending me, because we wasn't legally divorced at the time, but we weren't together. And she was like, I'm getting these crazy letters and she's threatening me and all this type of stuff. I was like, she would never do that. So my ex wouldn't do that. And I called her. She was like, I didn't know what you're talking about. I said, you know what you're talking about. Why you sending her letters? She was like, I ain't send nobody nothing. So I went to Detroit one time and I dropped by to see her. And I knew it was her when I asked her. She was like, oh, you thought you was going to be. I was like, are you serious? And it was her. She was doing it. So, you know,
That's crazy.
I've had hey, look, since that, I've had my share of you know, drama relationships, but I get out of them fast if it's drama. So I don't got time for drama.
But you've had that a few times, because isn't there another situation where you had you had one lady friend that you would pick up from school and she would sit in the front seat of the car.
Oh, you going
And then
back
you
that
had
far? I thought you was talking
said
about
there was
grown man
none.
stuff. That was high
It all
school.
starts somewhere though.
That was high school. That was high school.
It was funny though.
Yeah, it was funny.
funny.
I had a girlfriend in high school. We was real close and we broke up. And so I was still, so I started dating another girl. But my ex comes, I used to pick her up and I used to take the other girl home. One of them played soccer, one of them played volleyball. So I was picking up my woman at the time who played volleyball, and my ex comes and pops up like I need a ride home and jumps in the front seat. She jumped in the front seat, and then my girl comes like, "What's this bitch doing in the front seat?" Da 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 da. I'm like, "Oh man, it don't matter." At that point, I was young. I was like, "It don't matter. Don't worry about it." So of course she quit me because she was mad because I didn't kick her out the front
It does
seat.
matter.
Yeah, right. And when I think
learned that
about that
lesson
now,
that day.
you know, I would never do nothing. I mean, get your ass in the back seat. You know, right.
Or catch another ride.
Right.
Call yourself an Uber.
But I wasn't mature enough then. I was only 17, 16, something like that. So, you know, I still wasn't mature. Think about what a 16-year-old would do now.
Yeah.
You know, but I was more mature for people my age, but I still wasn't mature enough to, you know, to do that back then. But yeah, I mean, I done had my share. I done made my mistakes in relationships.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm still friends with most women I done dated. I'm still cool with them, you know, so I've passed those drama things. I don't do drama anymore. That was back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah, that was back in the day.
So you've grown up then.
I've grown up. I ain't gonna say other people. It's just when I see the drama, I'm out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I can cut it off like that. And they be like, "What's wrong with him?" I'm like, "No, I don't do that. I just, you know, I just don't do drama. I mean, I don't see a reason for it."
So tell me about the Taj Mahal.
Oh, the casino. So we used to, so that's where we shot the first Money Is Made video at. We had a thing called VIP Junkets where we used to take a private plane from Detroit to Atlantic City and gamble. You know, we probably go there, you know, 2-3 times a month sometimes. Nice. So I got with the people at the casino. I'm like, "Look, we want to shoot a video here." And they said that, you know, okay, cool. So so what we did was we flew everybody down to the Taj Mahal and we shot the Money Is Made video down there. Nice. So we was the first group to ever shoot a rap video at a casino. Okay. So it was
I bet that was an experience.
Oh man, we had a ball. I remember I won a lot of money down there too the weekend we did. But it was we had a ball. You know, I used to gamble at the Trump at the Trump casino at first, and then when they built the Taj Mahal, I was there when they the grand opening. Oh. So I used to stay in the top suites up there, and you know, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna shoot a video here." So we shot the Money Is Made there, and it was a great experience because I had my whole staff with me, the artists. Man, we just had a ball. So it was something that I think just that vibe being in a casino, it just made the video so hot at the time.
I was gonna say make it stand out tremendously.
Right, and then that's when we had just did the deal with Ishabine too. So when we did it, it like with I had told you earlier with the video jukebox, people would call in and you know, like, "I want to hear this video, I want to hear that video," and like the Money Is Made video would play like every 3 videos. Oh, wow. That's how hot it was. So,
Circulating good.
yeah. And I wasn't even in Detroit at the time because it was 92. I had already moved. And I was in Atlanta, but Detroit was just blowing up, even though they were selling all over the country. But Detroit still was like the main market, And when they saw that video with the money is made, we had did it. We was in the suits, we all had suits on and stuff like that, and it was like wow, it was a shock factor. Yeah,
I bet that was surreal being able to. I guess it's kind of like hearing one of your songs, whether you're the artist or the producer, if you had anything to do with any piece of artwork like that, to hear it on the radio for the first time.
Right.
So then to see your music video on TV for the first time, and then especially something so extraordinary. Because you shot it in Atlantic Station of all places.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Atlantic City of all places. I can imagine the feeling of that.
Yeah, it was, like I say, it was a lot of the stuff was surreal, especially back in those days, because, rap still was pretty new when I first got into it. It was only a couple labels doing what we did. You had Luke Skywalker, you had the boys out of Houston, the ghetto boys and them. Jay Prince, he had his label. And then you had maybe a couple more independent labels, but we was like one of the few labels that was just operating as a straight independent label.
Yeah.
And so those times, it was just great, man. It's, I can't even explain it. Yeah, it was just great. But to be honest with you, I've had a lot of that in my life, period. Just, trying stuff, that I didn't even have, because I never had a background in music when I did it. I don't think I told you that. I was just, when Eddie came to me and was like, look, do you want to produce this or whatever? It was just a situation, whereas I knew nothing about it, but I'm like, it sounds exciting.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because every business that I've started, from this point, a lot of it I didn't know anything about. Now, I've been in the cosmetics for 12 years, but actually the cosmetic business came from me dating a girl. And she was a manager over at Max Cosmetics. And she was showing me like how the stores was making money. I was like, cosmetics got this much money? And she was like, are you serious? I was like, yeah, I'm serious. And she kind of showed me the business, and so we started a business together, and that's how I got into the cosmetics,
Okay.
So, of course, it didn't work between us two, but, I moved on and still, why you giving me that look? That's another relationship. Yeah, I understand.
Nothing at all.
No.
Keep going.
It didn't work. You're going to think that I'm bad at relationships, but I'm really not. Okay. So, so that's actually how I got into this. It was dating a girl who actually, taught me the business, and I just kind of learned it myself from there. But it was just exciting. I think when I get challenged to, do something that it brings out the best in me, because I'm gonna go hard at it. So I think everybody should have a 3 times in their life, where you have a big change.
I like that.
Yeah.
So how about we invite you back so you can tell us about those 3 times?
Okay, I will.
I like that.
I will.
So we would like to thank all of you for tuning in with us. We want to thank you all for joining us today and sticking with us. I hope you learned a lot and were entertained, as I was, by Mr. Joel and his experiences. I also want to encourage you to pick up the book. You can order it on Amazon.
Yeah, you can order it on Amazon.
Behind These Green Eyes.
We got a new reissue coming for all my 2 books, Behind These Green Eyes, and Just Because It Feel Good, That Don't Make It Right. So they coming all with the new release in December.
Okay.
So you can come to qmerch.net and get those.
Yes, and we'll touch on all of that again, plus our 3 points and changes you should make in your life, according to Joel.
Right.
Big philosophy over here. So we'll talk with you soon.
All righty. Take care.
Retailers, wholesalers, and distributors. Order your Rainbow Body Scrub by Q Merch now. Available in an array of colors and scents that are absolutely certain to fly off of your shelves.
Hi, I'm Jason.
And I'm Raina,
Join us on a Wake Up Right morning show.
only on the QDN network.
Quiet on the set. 3, 2, 1.
Are you ready? 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 Are you ready?